Well, it's me again, and you all keep coming back for your grab, gather, grow groups. And again, as every week, I pray your conversation is stimulating and your study in between sessions is really rewarding. And I am so glad today that yet again, this is not a solo presentation for this 167 series video. Today, we're talking about being prisoners of your own device. And to help us have that conversation, I got my friend Jesse Epley, and Jesse is a family therapist and counselor with 112 Counseling, one of our partners in ministry in the Charlotte area. And I just want to thank you for being here today, Jesse.
I'm really glad to be here.
So you've come really highly recommended to us here at Good Shepherd, and I sense that you have a real good understanding of some of the national trends, maybe even the statistics involving teenagers, adolescents, and smartphones.
Yeah, teenagers and adults as well.
Wow. Okay.
So the average adult, how long do you think they spend on their phone? Oh, do you want to take that?
Dang it.
So the average adult takes about 6.5 hours a day on their phones. The average tween and earlier than teenagers, same 6.5 hours.
Do you think?
Should you take that?
You think?
I can just keep going. You're fine.
I'll turn it off.
Okay.
I'll put it to the side. Go ahead.
Okay. In teenagers, the average is 9 hours a day. That does not include time spent on homework or in school.
9 hours a day.
Yes. That's a job.
My goodness.
Yes.
Tell me what your sense as a clinician is over the effect of that on the chemistry in our brain and then the behavior that results from that.
So a lot of it's about dopamine. When we talk about our devices and we talk about the chemicals in our brain.
Dopamine, you mean
Yes.
the same chemical that gets released when you're on cocaine?
Yes.
Okay.
Same spot of the brain as well is where it goes.
Wow.
And so when we go on to our devices, when we go on to social media, we go for that hit, we go for that like, and it triggers in our brain. So for adults, man, that's intoxicating. For teenagers, whose brains are still developing, for kids, it's that much more. Have you ever seen a plastic milk jug?
Yeah.
So you get an empty one, you crinkle it down, you blow it back up. What happens?
I'm not sure.
So the lines in it still stay there.
Oh.
That's how the plasticity of the brain works. Our neurology, when we get that dopamine hit, we get excited and those lines start to connect. Do that over and over again, and those lines in that bottle, that's how addiction sets in.
It's almost like a trail gets carved through our brain chemistry.
Yes.
And I would imagine that getting out of that addictive behavior or those compulsions is a matter of retracing that trail and letting new growth grow over it.
The lines may still be there, but you can actually get healthier perspectives, healthier ideas. And we'll talk about that later, but different ways to live life and cope without that dopamine hit being the driving force.
My goodness. Well, I would love to know, because you've got a lot of experience dealing with people who are really, really attached. They really are prisoners of their own device. Yeah. Can you tell me some things that have happened, that have come into your office?
Sure. So I work with families and adults. I work with teenagers. I had one teen come in who had been struggling with depression. A lot of it connected to his device, just a lot of hard parts in his life. And his parents, in trying to help him deal with that, had taken the SIM card out of his phone. That piece that allows you to connect online, to be able to do things. But he still brought his phone in with him for 2 or 3 sessions. And so I asked him, and he had it in his hand. I was like, why do you have your phone? He's like, well, I feel safer with it. I feel comfortable. For him, he had emotionally attached to that phone. And even though he couldn't get online with it, it still gave him that calming sense of...
It was Linus and his blanket.
Yes.
21st century style.
Yes. And that much worse when it was working.
Yeah.
I have other clients, usually in the millennial range, 19, 20, 21, who have had their phones for so long that they'll come into session and they'll have it right there on the couch with them. And so I'll ask them questions, and as opposed to just answering me, they'll go Google. They'll go to Wikipedia. They'll look it up and give it to me, which is fun, which is endearing. Except for, therapy, you're supposed to get deep, right?
Yeah.
So I ask them a deep, penetrating question. I'll get into their emotions. First thing they do is just turn to the phone. Every time. For them, being able to emotionally connect and understand their feelings, they've got to have that filter.
So that they're not only outsourcing their memory by Googling everything, they're outsourcing their emotions.
Yeah.
How dangerous is that? My goodness. And one of the things that we've realized around here is that when you are so connected to your device, a prisoner of that device, you're always at the mercy of the urgent and the now. What do you see that doing to people's lives?
When there's that urgency, it breeds anxiety. It breeds depression. It breeds all those parts of our brain that try to say, hey, I need to do this now. Hey, I have to get, and if I don't, then shame or fear or those things begin to creep in. When there's that urgent piece, suddenly we find ourselves wanting to, I always ask people, like, are you serving your device or are they serving you? If you find yourself running back to that device every time to check for that update, to check for that email, to check for that tweet, for that text, and it's not there, man, just it becomes less of a person. You become less of a person and more of just connected to that device.
And you even start wondering why the likes you're getting aren't loves.
Oh, yes.
That was devious on the part of Facebook to put that on.
A recent update, if you'll notice, whenever you say congratulations to other pieces, they like
confetti
will go
balloon.
off.
Yes.
Facebook did their research. They knew that if you could step into that, if you could actually feel that excitement of seeing that confetti, you'd want to go into it more.
You're not saying they're a for-profit company, are you? They're not there just for our good?
I like my Facebook account, and no, they want our money.
Okay.
They want our attention. Okay. They want our eyes. They want our time.
Well, where's the hope for whether you're a parent of adolescent or an adult struggling with this prisonership themselves?
Yeah.
Where's the hope?
The hope gets found when we stop letting our devices control us. It's when you do things like make digital-free zones in your house. Mm-hmm. The bedroom, the kitchen table, the car maybe, which is a lot safer for driving.
Yeah.
It's when you make events. You throw house parties, you throw dinner parties where everybody puts their phone away and everybody just has to talk to one another. It's when you have rituals like go to church and maybe not pull out your phone. Maybe you go for a walk in the park and don't have your earbuds in. It's finding ways to put the device down and to reconnect with people around us and with the world around us, and I think with God as well.
Yeah, so it's reconnecting on a human level and on a creation level,
yes,
which leads to creator
level.
Wow, well, we have a lot to learn, and we have a lot of adjustments to make because it's definitely true. As the Eagles were just foreshadowing 40 years ago when they said that we are all prisoners here of our own device. I've got a couple of questions that I want you to make sure that you dig into. Number one around your group is, how much time per day would you estimate that you spend on your device? And very closely related to that, when you're on your device, what are your 3 primary activities that you are engaged in when you're on your device? And then a question to really break through to gauge how honest you are being. If you're in a committed relationship, serious dating, or you're married, how would your mate or spouse evaluate the answers to those 2 questions I just gave? Would they say you're on your device longer than you would? Would they say you're doing different kinds of activities on there than you have said that you are doing? That's really kind of the question of all questions, isn't it? One other thing that I would love for your groups to dig into is this marvelous verse, Matthew chapter 6, verse 33. Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, Jesus says, and all these things will be added unto you. So instead of being held captive by what is urgent, you can be captured by the one who is ultimate. And you might want to ask yourself, do you really take Jesus at his word? Do you really believe that once you seek him first, everything else will fall in line? Have a great conversation, and I really look forward to seeing you next week, our 4th and final week of this series called You Give Love a Bad Name.